What is going on, guys? DragonTamerBlayde here, back with some more Elder Scrolls Legends, and today we're going to have another Elder Scrolls Legends Top 10 video, and the topic of today is going to be my top 10 favorite legendary cards in the game, that is including both unique legendaries and non-unique legendaries. As always, there's no set criteria for how I choose my top 10 cards. Some of them may be their playability, how unique or cool their effects are, their arts. There's any wide number of things that could be what make me choose these things as my favorite legendaries. And as always, there's no definite order. The cards near the top will definitely be my more favorite as compared to the ones on the bottom, but like my 1, 2, 3 aren't going to be the definitive 3, 2, 1. It's just the top 3 are going to be my top 3 in no particular order. My bottom 3 will be my bottom 3. You know the drill by now. We've done a couple of these. So without further ado, let's get into my first, or I guess my number 10 legendary card. So number 10 on my top 10 favorite legendary cards is going to be Sails Through Storms. Recent card we got in Return to Clockwork City. So I love cards that have effects where you can kind of cheat out cards. So Sails Through Storms Pilfer effect allows you to summon the top creature of your deck for free. And the way that it works in Elder Scrolls Legends, you also get to use that creature's summon effect when you pull it off the top of your deck. So obviously Sails Through Storm is a little bit understated, but it has an incredibly powerful effect. A little bit of RNG because you can't control what's on top of your deck. But just swinging with this card or having Archer's Gambit, crossbow combos with this card, and just pulling a bunch of stuff out of your deck without having to use the Magicka cost is just something that I've always been kind of super drawn to. And I've always wanted to make this card work well. I just don't think it's that super great of a card to where it can really work on a consistent basis, but those few times where you include it in your deck and you get some of those combos to go off and you get those pilfers, even just like 1 or 2 of these things, it feels so good, and that's why Sails Through Storm made my list. So number 9 on my top 10 legendaries cards in Elder Scrolls Legends is Gleave. Fun little story. Gleave was actually the very first legendary card that I pulled out of packs in this game, so I'm always going to have kind of that affinity for this card, just remembering fondly the first legendary that I pulled. So that instantly kind of keeps him in contention for my top 10 at all times, just purely off the nostalgia factor. Couple that with the fact that he's a dragon and a really cool looking dragon, again, leaps him even further onto my list. And I think he's a pretty solid card. A 7/7 for 7 with guard is nothing to shake a stick at. And the fact that he can't be targeted with actions makes him a little bit more kind of sticky than normal cards that you want after turn 6. You want them to do something when they hit the board. Gleave doesn't do anything when he hits the board, but he can't just be insta-removed by most of the hard removal cards in the game. It would have to be something like lethal. So that kind of makes it worthwhile for him. So super cool card, mostly just driven off the nostalgia factor for me though, but that's why Gleave makes my list. Number 8 on my list is going to be Cerana, brand new card from the Houses of Morrowind expansion. So besides this beautiful premium art with all of those kind of magical powers, whatever, coming out of her hands and going across her body. Just a super cool effect. Solid stats for her cost. Obviously, it's not a real offensive card. The real goal for Cerana is stick on the board and play a bunch of actions to get free actions, free 3 copies of those actions into your deck. So Cerana, play a Lightning Bolt, you get 3 0-cost Lightning Bolts in your deck. So not only more Prophecy Lightning Bolts you can pull, but you got some free ones as well. I've had Cerana out against an aggro deck, drop an Ice Storm. Cerana obviously lives because she has pretty high health for a 5-cost card. And then you get 3 free Ice Storms, which is basically clear the board a couple more times against your aggro opponent. There's so much stuff you can do with her. There's the Ice Spike shenanigans you can try, Shadow Shift, stuff like that where you draw a card. So the fact that it's free doesn't hurt you because you can play that card, draw a card, 0 cost. It's just cycle plus whatever action it is for free. So Cerana is really cool. There's a lot of really cool capabilities with her, and I think we really haven't even scratched the surface of the things Cerana is capable of in a solid deck. As a community, I think there's so much more that she can do, and I'm looking forward to see that. So that's why she makes my list. Number 7 on my top 10 premiums is going to be Blood Dragon, core set card that's just been great since day 1. Overstated for a 5-cost card. 5/7 is great stats, and it has one of the most unique abilities in the game. It both ignores guards, which is already a great ability, being able to continue to go face, hit a different creature that's trying to be protected, whatever, that's already great. And it may attack creatures in any lane. With the lane system in this game, there's not a ton of cross-lane interactions besides AoE or being able to target something with an action or ability across lanes. There's not a ton of cross-lane interaction otherwise, besides Bushwhack, which we recently received in Houses of Morrowind. But Blood Dragon being an overstated card that can just hit anything on the board, including your opponent's face at all times whenever it wants, besides creatures in cover, makes Blood Dragon just a super cool card, and a cool card that's kind of just been awesome since day one and never ceased to be awesome. So that's why it makes my list at the number 7 position. So number 6 on my top 10 legendary cards list is another OG and another dragon. I mean, I guess you guys can see the trend by now, but Odahviing, super awesome card. I remember the first time I saw this card, when I first started playing, I hadn't really dug through the entire card catalog to see what existed, and it was very early into my time on the ladder. I made it into the late game with one of my typical pretty terrible decks, which my decks probably haven't improved all that much since then. And I remember I had a pretty decent board, and then this gigantic dragon gets dropped, and all of my creatures just got annihilated by the 4 damage to everyone, and I was just left there with my jaw hanging, and I was like, holy shit, I need this card. And just that first interaction with the card really kind of carved its place into my memory. Not to mention the fact that the card is awesome. It's always been a good card. I think it always will be a good card. And just, it has one of the best arts / premium arts in the game. I absolutely love Odahviing. He probably should be higher on the list now that I'm looking at it, but no fault of his own for being number 6 on my list. He's just great, and that's why I have him on here. And number 5 on my top 10 legendaries list is going to be Gortwalk Nagorm. Another OG card, and very similar in the vein of Sails Through Storms. I like Gortwalk because he has a kind of cool cheating effect. So all he has to do, unlike Sails Through Storms, which has to go face, Gortwalk just has to be alive at the start of your turn and unsilenced, and he'll summon a random creature from your deck, so not the top creature, any creature, and he gets summoned to a random lane. So it's another cool cheat effect, which is arguably easier to pull off than a Pilfer sometimes, and just a little bit better stats for survival as well, and it could be any creature. So if you have something at the bottom of your deck, if your Alduin or whatever is sitting at the bottom of your deck, Gortwalk, you pull him out, and he's just this cool, badass looking orc guy. How could you not have him on your list? And that's why he's on mine. Number 4 on my top 10 legendaries list is going to be Skeletal Dragon. So besides this beautiful premium art that you can see here, I love Skeletal Dragon for a multitude of reasons. Number 1 being, he's a dragon. I love basically every dragon in this game, and Skeletal Dragon's arguably the coolest of the bunch. His ability, absolutely cool. All creatures in your discard pile get +2/+2. I love discard pile interaction. I've talked about it many, many times on the channel. So anything that kind of interacts with the discard pile in a positive way like that, I absolutely love. And then on top of that, you factor in, so he has a summon effect, so he does something no matter what when you summon him. And then, if he doesn't get silenced, he has a last gasp where you're going to pull one of those +2/+2 creatures out of your discard pile and put them into your hand. It could be another Blood Dragon if another Blood Dragon has died, or literally anything. You're just generating value from your discard pile when this card dies. And that's super powerful, and it's a super powerful card. Not always the easiest to pull off, but when it does, you're just generating awesome value from your graveyard as long as you don't pull like a 1/1 token or something like that. But even then, it's not horrible. Just not as good as it could be. But I love Skeletal Dragon. I love some of the plays that it enables, some of the things that happen as a result of Skeletal Dragon's ability. I've loved this card since the second it was revealed, and that's why it has made its way into my top 4. Alrighty, we're into my top 3 now. Number 3 on my list is going to be Tazcad the Packmaster. Similarly to my story about Gleave being the first legendary I pulled, Tazcad was the first premium legendary that I've ever pulled. Tazcad's been closing out games since super early in the Elder Scrolls Legends. He actually was nerfed. He used to be an 8 cost and went up to a 9, and I don't think it made him any worse. Obviously, he got a little bit worse because you can't play him as early, but he's still an amazing card. 6/6 with Breakthrough and Charge. Already crazy. Allows you to skip the last rune. Allows you to deal damage through guard. It is one of, I think it might be the second biggest charge creature in the game. So all of that already makes Tazcad good enough if he didn't have this last gasp effect. But on top of it, he has the last gasp effect where even if you manage to survive the 6/6 charging creature, kill the 6/6 charging creature, he leaves a 4/4 behind. Yeah, 4/4 is not all that amazing, but you're still leaving a 4/4 behind after you get all of this awesome play from this amazing 9-cost card. Tazcad's been amazing forever. He'll continue to be amazing. And he's my first premium legendary, so he's always going to hold that soft spot in my heart. and I include him in a lot of my green decks. Basically, anything that's mid-range or faster, I include TASCAD because he can always close out games for you, and that's why he's number 3 on my list. Alright guys, only 2 more to go. Number 2 on my list is going to be another new card from House of Morrowind, Gnar You. So, if there's one thing I love more than dragons in this game, it is my good old Slay decks. And Gnar You is yet another kind of cog in that Slay deck machine. 6/6 for 6, fine stats, but the real kicker here is she summons a 0/1 target with guard in each lane for your opponent. That alone is key, because if I have a Falkreath Defiler on the board that my opponent's trying to avoid, bam, instant Slay target right there. You're getting a Slay target in each lane, which if you're doing well enough on turn 6, 7, whatever in your Slay Scout deck, you should have a couple powerful Slay creatures on board that your opponent's probably trying to avoid at this point so that you don't snowball on them. Gnar You puts a token in each lane that you can target and start snowballing. But on top of that, not only are you going to be able to trigger those Slay effects on those two different lanes, also every single friendly creature has the ability Slay +1/+1 and lethal. So after you kill that token, the creature that slays getting +1/+1 and lethal. So even if it was something small like, I don't know, my Falkreath Defiler again, he's going to be a 3/3, we slay the token, he becomes a 4/4 with lethal. Even if you have some kind of big powerful creature, now you have to die to the lethal, or let's say you tried to drop down a Gleave or something before or afterwards, or you were holding it in your hand, you can't just drop that down anymore because now my creature has lethal. I'm going to get rid of your big guard and trigger my Slay effect again. Just some crazy plays can result as a result of Gnar You being on the field. Whenever she hits the board, usually it's going to be a huge impact for you, very swingy for you. Obviously she only fits into a couple little niche decks, but just absolutely amazing for the decks that she is in. And that's why she's number 2 on my list, because she makes my favorite kind of deck way better. Alright guys, and here it is, number 1 on my top 10 legendaries list. It is another OG, Lucian LeChance, the inspiration that got me on the Slay deck train. Lucian has the ability, all other friendly creatures have +2/+2, so with Brotherhood Sanctuaries on the board, if Lucian LeChance isn't instantly killed, you usually just win the game. 1/5 stats for 4, obviously not amazing, but he does have lethal. In the off chance that you need to get rid of some kind of big guard creature in front of you, Lucian can give his life for the rest of the squad. But that's not why you're playing Lucian. You're playing him for that incredible ability. Hopefully you're going to start trading and slaying right away, and then all of your big slay creatures wind up as like 15/15s that your opponent can't remove unless they have 20 javelins in their hand, because everything on your board is going to start growing. Get a Night Mother on there as well. Probably honorable mention for Night Mother as well for my favorite legendaries, but Night Mother instantly has a token every turn for Lucian to give a slay effect to a friendly creature, and then you just snowball your way to victory. Lucian was what gave me that inspiration to try and make Slay decks work, and will continue having me try to make Slay decks work because Lucian's such a cool card with such an awesome ability. And that's going to be it for my top 10 legendary cards. Let me know down below what your top 10 legendaries are and what future top 10s you'd like to see on the channel from me. Looking forward to read your guys' response. As always, thank you all very, very much for watching. I'm DragonTamerBlayde, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.